everybody. Today, we're going to continue on with parabolas. No, not that awesome game that I know. All right. By the way, that might be copyright infringement. I don't want to get sued. Okay, so we're just pretend like that didn't happen. So right now, what we're going to do, it says the vertex of this parabola is at -2, 4. So what I'd like you to do is right above this on problem number 3, I would like you to label this as your H and label this as your K. And then you're going to plot the -2 and the +4 right there. Right there, that's what you're going to plot. And you are going to call it your vertex. All right. Then, after you have plotted your vertex and you've actually labeled it H, K, then and only then are you allowed to plot the next point known as the focus. So the vertex is in blue, the focus is in red. I know it's not really perfect red, but it's, it's a highlight. So we got to go -2, +3, put a point right there. Okay. And I'd like you guys to label that as your focus. Now, by the way, if the focus is right here and the vertex is right here, that gives me a clue that my parabola will be opening down, because the focus is always close to the vertex. So if this is your vertex and your focus is below it, it's going to open down. If this is your vertex and the focus was right over here, that lets you know it's going to be opening to the right. Okay? So, one more to make sure you guys get this concept. If the focus is the vertex is right here, and the focus is right there, where would it open? It would open to the left. So in all of these problems that we're doing, you have to figure out which direction your parabola is open. Now, if it opens up or down, you're using this formula. You're using parentheses, x minus h squared equals 4p parentheses y minus k. This is the equation that you're using when it says write the equation. This is the equation you're going to be starting with. So right now, what is our h and our k value? Our hk value is at a -2 and a 4. So what I'd like us to do is take this -2 right here. See it? I'm going to take it and I'm going to plug it in right there. That's right. Say it, Blue. There's one over. Attaboy, Blue. And then we're going to take this 4, plug it in right there. Y minus. Awesome. Now it looks like we pretty much have everything that we need except for one thing. We need to figure out what number goes right there. Now, by the way, is there a little guide for us when it talks about the focus? Like, can you guys look at your chart? Look at your chart for the focus. Could you tell me what that is equal to?
That is equal to h plus p.
H comma k plus p. I agree. That is correct. The one that you listed is for the one that opens to the left or to the right. This is the one that opens up or down. So this is what we're using. Do we know our h value, everybody? What's our h value? Okay, it's our what? It's -2, right? And do we know our k value? All right. Our k value was a 4, all right? And, hold on. No, it wasn't. For our focus. Our k value is a 4, right? Okay? But what was our k value, what was our y coordinate for our focus?
Oh,
3, right? So what I want you to understand, you see what this is right here? K plus p equals 3. So our k value, you're right, our k value is a 4, plus p equaled a 3. So what is p have to equal? Have to equal a -1. Does it make sense that it went down how far? It went down 1 unit, right? So I want you to understand that p value is equal to a -1. Now what am I going to do with this -1? I'm going to find a way to do what? Plug it in where? Right there. So when you plug in a -1 right there, what happens? Makes it a -4. So what I'd like you to do right now is I'd like you to write down your equation. Here we go. It is x plus 2 squared equals 4 times a -1 becomes -4, and you put y minus 4. And guess what? That's your equation. Okay? Now we're going to graph it. Let me show you how to graph it. Okay? So right now, I'm going to go up here. I'm going to erase this part right here and redraw it. Okay? So this is our focus, everybody. This is our focus. That means your directrix is literally the same unit away from the vertex. So draw in your directrix right there. Draw it in. Okay? The next thing I'm going to draw in is our axis of symmetry. There's your axis of symmetry. Just remember, your axis of symmetry always passes through the vertex, and it always passes through the focus, and it always makes a 90-degree angle with your directrix. So we're going to label this the directrix. Dude,
I didn't mean to.
Soft thing? You okay?
He slammed his knee.
And you're laughing. I'm so sorry.
What? No, I got a knee disability. It's alright.
Okay. Just remember.
I'll probably be able to
carry
that.
All right, now, everybody, we need to figure out this right here, called the lattice rectum. And yes, the lattice rectum always passes through the focus, just what it does. By the way, what is the length of the lattice rectum always equal to? The absolute value of 4 times p. And our p-value was a -1, so we have to say it is the absolute value of a -4. And the absolute value of a -4 is 4. That means your lattice rectum is 4 units long. Left and right 2. 4 units long, left to right 2 from the focus. So we got to go left and right, how long? 2. Man, I'm going to say it 5 times
I think
for one person to get it right.
It's not to either side.
So right here, everybody, would you please draw this in? Draw that in. What is that? That is your lattice rectum. Okay? Now, at this point, I just want you to make a gentle sketch going through this point, going through this point. Can you guys see how wide it takes for us to go? Basically, just make a sketch. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just follow that curve. You don't have to find any more points. Just kind of make that sketch dealing with that width. So that lattice rectum, that's what I definitely want drawn in your picture. Okay? Just make a sketch that goes like that. All right, so here we go. Problem number 4. What we're going to do to start out this one, we're going to actually just plot the focus. All right, we're going to start with what it's given. We're going to plot the focus at a 2, 1. So we're going to go over 2 and up 1. I'm going to put a point. I'm going to call it F for focus. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in what's called the directrix. Which, by the way, since x equals -2, you know you have a vertical line. And the vertical line is going to be at x equals -2. So I'm going to draw in a vertical line right there. And that right there is called the directrix x equals -2. And then, one thing you need to realize, between the directrix and the focus, perfectly halfway between them, will always be the vertex. So I'm going to put the vertex right here. So that is the vertex. So I'm going to label the vertex at 0, 1. I'm going to label it at a 0 and a 1. So this is my h value. This is my k value. So if I have a vertex right here, I'm going to call it V. All right? And I have a focus right here. What does that tell me about what my parabola is going to look like? It's going to be opening. It has to open which direction? It has to be opening to right. Called a clue. All right? Of which direction it's going to open. Now, if it opens right or left, now we have a different equation. And the equation that this goes with is y minus k squared equals 4p parentheses x minus h close parentheses. Now, if you're wondering, where the heck am I getting this formula? Let me show you where, up here. And for those of you who weren't here yesterday, that's fine. I want you to understand, when I know it's opening to the right or to the left, I know I have to use this formula. When it opens up or down, I know I have to use this formula. So it's either this formula or it's this formula. So it's one or the other. But if you can plot the points and draw in the lines, you can figure out which formula you're using. So what I was hoping for is this. I was hoping for everybody to at least have this amount of information, and then we can go from there. So you guys see this HK right here? Could I take that information and plug it in here? What is my H value? 0. So right here, what am I going to plug in? I'm going to plug in a 0. What's my K value? So right here, I'm going to plug it in 1. So what I'm going to write is y minus 1 squared equals 4 times p, parentheses, I'm just going to put x minus 0. Technically, I could just put an x there because x minus 0 is still x, but I'm going to put x minus 0 just to keep the pattern. Now, what I need you guys to understand is this part right here is extremely important. That distance is p. That distance is always p. Because it's going to the, which direction is it going? It's going to the, so that would be a positive p. If it's going here to the left, that distance is going to be called a what? Negative p. But right now, since it's going, hey, since our graph is going which direction? It's going to the right, that is the p value. What does our p value have to equal? It equals a 2. Like, it's 2, because it's 2 units. So if you plug in the 2 right there, you're right. That becomes the 8. I don't want there to be confusion that p is not 8, but 4 times 2 is 8. So what you're going to do is you're going to put an 8 right here. All right. You're going to open up the parentheses. You're going to just put an x. Okay. And then the other part is what? Y minus 1 squared. Now the last thing, all right? Yes, I'm going to draw in. I'll draw on the axis of symmetry real quick. I'll just draw it in. Here's your axis of symmetry that goes straight through those points. And I'll color in the points once again. This is your vertex. This is your focus. All right? And so the last thing we're going to draw in is this straight side called the lattice rectum. And the lattice rectum is the absolute value of 4p. Well, what is our 4p equal to? This time it's equal to an 8. So it's the absolute value of 8, which gets us 8 units. So we have 8 units, which means we have to go 4 up and 4 down from the focus. Yes, from the focus. Because, yes, ironically, the lattice rectum always passes through the focus. Yes, sir. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put a 1, 2, 3, 4. Then what am I going to do? I'm going to actually draw in. I'm going to draw in the length of the lattice rectum all the way through. It's passing through the focus. And you guys see how wide this is? It's not a very good curve. We're trying to make it wide. So, doing a horrible job. It's okay. Nobody watches these videos anyway, so what you're wide.
I watched it.
A couple.
I watched quite a few of them this day. Because I had to do it all.
When I'm trying to find like how to build my Fortnite tower correctly, I'll sometimes use.
By the way, you guys see how wide that is? This is something that looks more like a satellite dish, you know, as far as the width. Okay. And by the way, notice all I want is what do I want you to plot on these? When I ask you to do it, I want the focus, I want the vertex, I want the directrix, and I want the axis of symmetry. And what's the gap between the vertex and the focus? That's your value for P. Now P could be negative or P could be positive. If the focus was here, then P would be negative because it's opening to the left. But if P is positive because it's opening to the right. If the parabola opens up, then your p-value is going to be positive. So if it opens up, the p-value is positive. If it opens down, the p-value is negative. If it opens left, the p-value is negative. If it opens to the right, the p-value is positive. Yeah, you did. That's what I want to make sure you know.
Yeah, I think I did it wrong.